Hello aspirants. In this video we will be covering the economic survey 2024 and 25. This will be useful for the upcoming UPSC mains and KPSC prelims mains. Yeah, which is going to come. So what is economic survey? Economic survey is it's a report of a state of economy, like in the Indian economy, that how it has performed in the previous 1 year, in the previous financial year, FY 24 and 25. And it is released by the Department of Economic Affairs, which is under the Ministry of Finance, and there is an advisor, the chief economic advisor, on whose advice the economic survey is prepared every year. It is tabled one day before the budget. Like this year, budget 2025 and 26 was delivered by Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, which gives the forecast of the next financial year, the FY 25 and 26. We will talk about that because the next video will be about the budget, right? Whereas the economic survey talks about the previous year's performance of the economy. Yeah, this should be clear in the first place. So this year's economic survey is quite interesting. Generally, if you visit the government website for economic survey, you will have this lengthy document of around 500 pages. At the same time, they will also release infographics and stats and tables and graphs to understand how the economy has performed and how is it going to grow in the future. So keeping all this in mind, it is a good habit for the candidates who are preparing for the exams also to have a good to make themselves go and visit the original source of information, mainly these documents, rather than relying on coaching materials and extracted. Then the information somehow gets lost. It's always a good habit to go and visit the original copy. So in this video, what we will try to do is shuffle between these two documents, understand all the tables, stats, parameters, and some new things that have been added in this year's economic survey from the point of view of mains, especially the KPSC mains and the UPSC prelims and mains. Okay, so quickly getting in, this document is very good in terms of the schemes, right, that the government is running, especially the part of GS3 economy, even GS1 to the GS1 social sector schemes and governance initiatives, right, in GS2, right, then also agriculture, which is a part of again GS3, right, and many more. Also the bureaucratic language that is being used, you can pick a lot of sentences directly from the economic survey, especially in the mains, stating that in the economic survey 2025 and 26 it was stated that, so like that you can quote, and that will create a lot of powerful impact in your answers, that will enrich the quality of your answers, right? So quickly getting in, hovering into the infographics page again. This year's just to give before that, this year's economic survey has a the front cover looks something like this. This is a wheel, say wheel of the progress and growth, yeah, and many other infographic symbols are also being used, stating various segments of economy and government's push to share growth in that particular zone, say renewables, say law and order and governance, say infrastructure, yeah, like that, like agriculture, etc. So quickly getting in, initially you can find that the chief economic advisors forward some words. Post that we'll enter the contents of this economic survey. There are 13 chapters as listed here, you can see. So initially in the first chapter it talks about the state of the economy, getting back into the fast lane, in the India's efforts in the growth story, right? Also the monetary and financial sector has been analyzed, putting the cart and the horse. Generally it is said, to run the economic engine you have to put the horse before the cart, right? Putting the horse before the cart principle has been outlaid. This indicates the finance sector. The horse is the finance sector, And there is external sector, how FDI has been coming in India. India has been the top recipient of FDI in the world. How have been the data, and how has it affected various segments of economy, especially the service sector. Prices and inflation, understanding the dynamics, how the consumer price index, wholesale price index, core inflation, headline inflation, how are they performing, how is the supply demand dynamics in the economy, right? Also the medium term outlook in terms of deregulation. This time the deregulation term has been emphasized enough to drive growth. Although the government's role is to regulate various segments, uh, but there is at times it's a great need to deregulate for the market forces to act on their own for a better performance. Yeah. Also the investment in infrastructure. Infrastructure is like a catalyst for ushering growth, and how the investments are getting in that segment, and how what are the challenges that one is facing, what are the different schemes and what are modifications that have been undertaken in that direction. All that is being talked in the sixth chapter. Industry, all about business reforms, the ease of doing business, right, is being talked about. The clearance system, the reduce hurdles, providing incentives for the entrepreneurship, you know all that has been talked in this. And services being India being in the forefront of services, what are the different challenges, and it has been compared to an old horse, because India's growth story after the LPG reforms, the service sector has been in the forefront and taking India has in a different trajectory of growth, you know so services sector's contribution is never underestimated. So separate chapter has been dedicated for services. And agriculture and food management, this being the bedrock of our economy, how agriculture and various reforms that are occurring within the agricultural sector. India struggling with various structural issues and various reforms within the agriculture and food management system. And climate and environment, this is an one cannot avoid the topic of climate and environment with the recent global warming and climate change, sustainability issues on the table, and what are various adoption measures that are being undertaken India and globally. All that is being talked in here. And the social sector, basically the health, education, yeah, and driving empowerment for the vulnerable sections of society, weaker sections, women, children, senior citizens, persons with disabilities. How is that being taken into account in driving inclusive growth, taking everyone together? Yeah. Also the employment and skill development, this is a very crucial thing which uh, is being talked about, that the skill gap, the unemployment that is on rise, and frustrated youth and standard of living have been compromised on many levels because of lack of skills. So what are the existing issues, and how efforts have been made to further employment and skilling youthful population, especially population which is in the working age group. At last, there is an emphasis on the AI. Artificial intelligence has been steering the digital explosion across, and what has the challenges that it brings in the Indian context, and how it act as a catalyst to further growth. Yeah, all that is being talked, and the need to adapt to AI techniques, skilling in the area of AI, creating a new generation of skilled laborers to enter the AI market. Literally every aspect of life is going to get affected with the AI. Yeah, all that has been briefly talked, and efforts have been done. So all in all, there are 3-4 major things that the economic survey is talking this year: the deregulation, the AI, and need of skilling, the advancement in that area, and focus on balanced approach, in cognizance of climate change. Yeah, these are the major areas where the economic survey is talking this year. So quickly getting into various stats and tables which are important. This will help you to gauge and write answers and understand how the economic parameters are functioning. There are two kinds of parameters. One is micro parameters and the macro parameters, right? You may be aware in the economics. So all in all, the economic survey is like, it is like an application of the basics of economics. There are various microeconomic parameters, right? That the interest rates, the RBI regulation, all those small parameters, micro and macro level. What are the inflation? How is it affecting on the larger picture? So this gives a bigger picture, and the macro gives a smaller picture. Although both are interlinked, but on the government level and the policy level, the macro picture uh, is always looked into to assess an economy and how it is functioning, and to put it on a right track of growth. So quickly getting into the state of economy, getting back into the fast lane of the first chapter, the world has been experiencing a growth of 3.3% in 2025, which is good. Like post the COVID in 2023, there was a dip, and there has been a rise worldwide. There are advanced economies like US, UK, Canada, all those. They have been experiencing a growth of 1.9%. Especially emerging economies like South Africa, African countries, India, like developing countries, they have been experiencing an average growth of 4.2%. Yeah, of course we'll talk later that India has been experiencing around 6.4% this year in 2025. So that we'll talk, but in average 4.2% is the growth GDP growth percentage for the emerging economies in the world. Okay, this is one. The other is there is one global manufacturing and services PMI trend. Now if you don't know what is PMI, it's called Purchasing Managers Index, which is an indicator of how the manufacturing sector is performing. So global manufacturing PMI is seen as an average of around 40, around 50, whereas the global services PMI has been experiencing a higher rise, which is around 54. Yeah, so this is one parameter also. It indicates both manufacturing and service sector. If you know the economic pyramid, agriculture sector lies here, then manufacturing sector and service sector, right? That's how the economic pyramid functions. So the focus here, it measures the manufacturing and service sector. Yeah, okay. So next, elevated global uncertainties. There are uncertainties happening across the world, especially in the Middle East region, Israel and Iran related issues. You go to Ukraine and Russia war, China and US tussles. Yeah, so like this, there are events that are ushering changes, especially with respect to oil and energy transition. Uh, yeah, on all these issues, climate change is one such thing. So there have been a lot of uncertainties which affect the global economics, because we are living in a global world, a global village, where all the economies are all interlinked. Anything happens at one place affects the supply and demand of the other, and thus affecting the complete economy of that nation. Therefore, like it is said in 2023, the World Trade Uncertainty Index, which is there to measure the uncertainties, it was around 8.5. Now this year, in 2024, last year it was around 13. That's how it is being indicated. And higher geopolitical risk index, in the line that we talked, it has increased. So the risk has been increasing, especially when Trump has entered as a president in the Trump administration. We can expect this risk going even upwards also as well. Yeah, because he's more of pro US and putting tariffs and thinking for US more. So in that sense, okay. So India's growth remains close to decadal average, and despite global uncertainties, you can see how the three sectors of the economy, agriculture, industry and the services sector, are contributing. Agriculture sector's contribution remains almost around 3.8 to 4%. Industries, the manufacturing sector, stays around 5%, 5.5 to 6%, and services sector all time high 8% in terms of the gross value addition, GVA. Overall GDP experiences around 6.4%. Yeah, so this is what is indicated. Then steady shares of investment and consumption in GDP. Yeah, and like it is not that important, but you can see how various import exports. Yeah, then strong external sectors, right? The services and trade balance, current account balance that is being talked. Yeah, uh, the yellow indicates the merchandise trade balance. Yeah, and the orange is net private transfers. So India has been recipient of the highest remittance from the working population as NRIs. Yeah, working abroad. So it has been giving a a positive inflow of money into Indian economy. At the same time, because of services trade, and we are net importers than exporters, right? So therefore, we can see an average of -1 as an indication here. As far as the $1 billion or in terms of dollars of contribution that you can gauge here. Stable banking system indicators. So the banking system has been experiencing a good growth. Steadily expanding economic activities. Yeah, that is there. And this is all is being talked. Now quickly switching into the other booklet, the biggest, the longer economic survey, quickly getting in. I had taken some points so that we can utilize them for our answers and understanding, right? So this is the first chapter, and there are various other segments within that. The global economic scenario is being talked. Domestic economy remains steady amidst all that stability and inclusivity. All that, okay. So quickly getting into what is there in the first chapter, and before that, you see there are some very good bureaucratic answer writing which you can directly copy paste or utilize them in your answers, like lowering the cost of business through deregulation. As we discussed, deregulation has been critically emphasized. That will make significant contribution to accelerating the economic growth and employment. Yeah, that is being done, and this is amidst the unprecedented global challenges and uncertainties, like that you can quote. Then it is a very good bureaucratic language, as indicated in economic survey 2024 and 2025, lowering the cost of business, like that you can quote. This will give a very, it can be a part of the economics GS3 conclusion, right? And even related topics. And there are many other topics like this. Europe faces both political and economic uncertainties. Especially the European continent is facing the biggest challenge called energy crisis is on rise. The fossils and the coal-based, or oil-based, energy is all going to get away because there is a global movement to get it off because of the carbon emissions, decarbonomics, carbon neutrality, net zero, all these efforts. And EU is on the forefront of this mission. They have to rely on an alternative source. What is the next alternative source? That is going to be the renewable sources. Within the renewable, it's a cold country, so solar is not reliable, wind non-reliable, hydel because it's a cold country not reliable, hydro. The only thing nowadays they are doing is nuclear. So nuclear has a greater rise in the European continent. There is a project called ITER, International Thermo Nuclear Reactor experiment, that is going on. There are small modular reactors, which this year the budget has come up. Indian budget has also adopted the SMRs. Recently, even Indian government, the Jaitapur power plant has the highest installed capacity of nuclear power plant in the world. So all these things is there. Keeping that in mind, there is a lot of uncertainty in the European continent, and there are some countries like Germany who are struggling with the economic engine. So all this is in there. So keeping all that, we can write some answers in the sense of uncertainties. Yeah. Okay, then European continent has a cushion of higher per capita income. See, they are all developed countries. The per capita income is higher. Yeah, but at the same time, their population is all aging, whereas Indian, we have the demographic profile, right? India is, I think, 28 to 30 years young. I think around 60% of the population is young in India, right? So, but in the other hand, in developed countries like even the South Korea, yeah, Japan, even these European countries are all struggling, having a youthful population. So India has to take advantage, otherwise the demographic dividend can become a demographic disaster. So efforts have to be done in the direction. So like that. So many various other things are also there. You can see technology driven economy. So I just highlighted some things. You can take a note and try to study and put things in place. Yeah. So quickly getting into the first chapter. Yeah. So this is the same topics that we talked. If you want to understand them in deep in right context, then you can refer this. Yeah, we discussed this. Yeah. So geopolitical uncertainties, that also we talked. The same tables were put in the different way there. Yeah. This also we talked. See, especially towards the end of any chapter, you will have very good writing. Take those sentences like navigating the global headwinds will require strategic and prudent policy management and reinforcing the domestic fundamentals. Right? Such a nice topic. Reinforcing the micro and microeconomics fundamentals means micro and macroeconomics parameters to be strengthened and reinforced, like that. Now we will talk about the second chapter quickly. Okay, in the second chapter what we are talking is about monetary and financial sector. This is called as the horse which runs the show. Yeah. So we have seen that financial stability report states that there is some declining trend that is being observed, yet there is improvement in the profitability overall. Bank assets, as you know, the credit, and there is non-performing assets. The biggest issue we have the SURFACE Act, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and the SURFACE Act, right? In this regard, to clear the struggling junk of wealth, and to mitigate the issue with systems in place for the easy operation of the banking system. Yeah. So that if you see year on year there is a growth, there is some positive aspect being observed, positive results being observed in that respect, and banking credit has been steady to usher the economic activity in the economic system of the country. Development in the capital markets. If you see the performance of the capital markets, right, you can put tell me in the comment box what are capital markets. Yeah. And what is money market, all that. Okay, so there is some talk about this. This is not that important here, and we can go for the next. I will only cover some important points only, so that we are focused, we don't get carried away by everything. Yeah. Rural financial institutions have played a significant role in advancing financial inclusion. So this is powerful statement, and we can observe the same, how it has positively impacted, especially the RRBs. They are called the regional rural banks, how they have been performing well in the grassroots levels to share economic activities, helping marginalized sections, people in need, to carry out business activities. Yeah. Also the external sector getting the FDI right. This is the third chapter. In the meantime, quickly I'll jump here to the chapter 2 if there is anything that we're missing that we need to cover. Yeah. See, same thing has been discussed here. That we discussed the NPAs. Yeah. Financial institutions play a pivotal role in shaping the country's economic growth trajectory by facilitating savings, investments, and credit for economic activities. Such a nice word. Wherever you have topics or questions on RBI or any economic functioning by financial institutions, you can always quote this word. It can be the starting of introduction also. Okay, so like very RBI as the head of the as a pivot, it has a pivotal role to employ various policy instruments in terms of economics, such as decreasing or increasing interest rates, open market operations, cash reserve ratios. There is SLR also. There's statutory liquidity ratio, repo rate operation that we call, right? So all that is taken care by the RBI. That's how it holds the steering of the economy and takes it in the right direction. Yeah. Then what we can talk is, so all in all we have covered mostly not that important, so we also talked. So whenever you talk about financial institutions, you'll always get this IBC and Surface Act. Try to quote them, understand the background well. And NPAs, non-performing assets, in terms of NBFCs. Yeah. And there has been a increment in the mutual funds investment in the population. There has been a rise that is being seen, a good thing. Yeah. And there are some keywords that are picked up from here, you see, and they're very good keywords and sentences. These emerging trends mark the dawn in the new era of Indian financial sector. See, always be very hopeful and add optimism to your answers. One critical risk that guards against the dominance of financial market is shaping policy macroeconomic outcomes. Use these keywords: macroeconomic, microeconomic, financialization. See, there is a word this year that is being said is financialization, right? Phenomena called financialization is a key term that is being introduced. What does it mean? When the consequence of financial are evident from advanced economies, generally it is seen in the advanced economies, where when the public sector is spending a lot of money, that ends up creating a lot of debt in the economy, which sometimes is seen and unseen. Sometimes it is visible, sometimes it is not visible. So that is like a hidden issue that is created in the economic sense, that is called financialization. Yeah, that is being introduced. Now as a hopeful point, you can write this: as India strives to align its financial system with its economic aspiration for 2047, we should strive to maintain a balanced approach, right, with respect to financial growth, yeah, and development. Okay, this is how chapter 2 ends. Now entering the chapter 3, quickly getting into chapter 3. We'll go a little faster because there's a lot of more to cover. Okay, external sector getting the FDI right. The foreign direct investment. There are two things. There is foreign direct investment, and there is FII, right? FPI, foreign portfolio investment, right? This is long term, this is short term, right? You know that. So India has been the top recipient in the world. Despite the global uncertainties in trade, India has been is a continuous or a constant receiver of FDIs, highest FDIs in the world, and that is being outlaid here, especially with respect to gems and jewelries and other. Also, India has been performing very well. There has been an uprise trend that is being observed, right? Even the merchandise trade deficit has widened in the first 9 months. India has to work on its missing middle, which is the economy, the manufacturing sector. India has seen that missing middle syndrome, right? India has not been able to achieve a significant stable growth in the manufacturing sectors. So that part we're anyway missing. So all that. Okay. So quickly getting into ease of doing businesses. Yeah. So this is what is being talked here. That business activities ushered by entrepreneurships and initiatives need to be eased for their performance and carrying out their activities with respect to providing incentives, creating smoother supply chains, single window clearance systems, reducing all the bottlenecks. Yeah, all that is being talked. India continues to attract the substantial foreign investment. Yeah, and the service sector has been the top performer or recipient, around 19.1%. And the next is computer and software and hardware. So you can see the computer science and electronics has been the strongest or the robust system that has been created in the Indian system, that is receiving the highest FDIs, and thus it is in the forefront, like a the horse which is running the system. Yeah. Strengthening forex reserve. India has been very robust in terms of having $640 billion of forex reserves. which is equivalent to 90% of the external debt. That positions India as one of the most stable economies in the world. This is a very good parameter you can always remember. India has around 600 plus billion dollars of forex reserves. That in the worst condition, India has a backup to save its economy, right? Prices and inflation. There are three parameters, which is the part of the chapter 4. I will quickly go with this thing only. You can refer for any detailed requirement in this document, the document which contains the highest pages, right? Refer always that. But at the same time, for the video here, we will only go with the infographics. That is suffice. Okay, so here we have the CPI, the core inflation, and the WPI. The wholesale price index gives a outlook from the supplier side, and the CPI, consumer price index, gives a view from the consumer side. So we have seen the trend that the CPI has been on the rise, consumer price index, right? Generally it is said to have 4 plus or minus 2% is the limit, which is like 2 to 6%. Within that limit, one should maintain the inflation rate. That is good for the economy and the people who are in the receiving end. So it has been observed to have a CPI of around 6% already. And the WPI, the wholesale price index, has an inflation of around 1%. Yeah. It has around 1%, right? 1 second. Yeah. So like that, 1%. So that we discussed. And the core inflation. What is core inflation? Except two things. One is food and fuel. These are volatile parameters. Therefore, there is something called as a headline inflation, out of which if you remove the food and fuel, what remains is the core inflation. Right? This is core and this is headline inflation. Like that. That gives a right picture of how the economy is functioning, especially the food and fuel. Fuel is like oil and other things, and food, that is the fuel, and food is the just especially the top, like tomato, onion, and potato, right? There is a lot of flux that is being seen with respect to the supply, demand, all that. Okay, so all these parameters are being talked in length. Okay, all these parameters are being talked in length, how it is growing, how it is affecting, yeah, that you can know all in all. Now quickly getting into the agricultural part, and how to control the food inflation, especially with the cereals, pulses, and vegetables. Although India is one of the largest producer and consumer, yet we are net importers. So making India sustainable and self-dependent, Atmanirbhar, in these pulses production, chana, moong, and masoor, there have been various initiatives that is being undertaken. Sales under Bharat brand is being made. Duty-free imports, especially for these urad, masoor, and yellow peas. Imposition of stock limits, like especially for tur and desi chana. All that is being undertaken for pulses. For cereals, stock limits again. Open market, sales scheme, especially for wheat and rice. If you talk cereals, you call wheat and rice. When it comes to pulses, we have tur, urad, chana, right? For vegetables, we have subsidized sales of onion and tomato, right? I talked about top, tomato, onion, potato, right? So that, and buffer stock of onion. Those administrative measures have been taken care to control the inflations occurring. Medium term, in the 5th chapter we talked about medium term outlook growth, deregulation, that we talked. What is it? That it can help in driving the growth for the natural forces of the economics to work on their own of supply and demand. It will help individuals as well as businesses to give freedom and to drive and to instigate that animal spirit, um, which is there to drive the economy, right? And this will is expected to grow the it will help in growing the domestic demand, consumption led growth. Geoeconomic fragmentation is affecting the global trade, thus this is a need of the hour that is being observed and put forth. Also, the undertaking system deregulation, how it is to be done in different phases. It has been observed in two phases. First, reduce the compliance burden, then you can streamline the processes by creating some single window clearing systems, eliminating redundancies, clarifying the process flows, all that. Then digitize the things for online, and providing incentives for you know uh, sectors and clusters. Yeah. And in the second phase, this is to ease, right, in the initial stage. And in the second phase, what we can do is liberalize the standards and controls. The purpose of controls is to put the things on right track. But if the control is slowing the speed for a better growth, then one should ease the control, right? Also set legal safeguards for enforcement, right? Various safeguards with respect to hierarchy of safeguards, etc. Reduce tariffs and fees, that will give incentive. Then use a risk-based regulation. Only when it goes beyond a limit can one go for regulation, otherwise let it free. Yeah, so like that. The purpose is like, if this is a pole and there is an animal tied, right, and if the animal is performing well, it will graze within this radius, right? And if it is for the better performance and better, then one has to lose the rope so that he can go far, and the degree of working and economic activity can be improved, right? And the sixth chapter, there's a talk on investment and infrastructure, and how investment in building infrastructure, especially rail, road, train, ports, all that. There are already existing Setu Bharatam, Bharatmala, all that are being there, and how efforts have been done in that direction. Nowadays, the Vande Bharat trains has been on the rise. So, how by FY 2025 we are expecting to increase the number and the coaches by 900. That is being put forth. Civil aviation and ports and shipping, there is, and because capital expenditure or investment in infrastructure building is always the priority of a government, that will bring everything, the FDIs, ease of doing business, logistics, market, commerce, everything is ushered by this one thing. Therefore, there is a focus on this. There is Udan also, right? Udega Aam Aadmi kind of thing, that is also being seen in terms of inclusivity, taking everyone together. Power sector. So power sector capacity addition has happened, right? There has been a growth in power sector, especially with respect to dependency on energy on other countries, especially with the decarbonization that is happening. There is a pull away from oil and gas based industries to renewables and nuclear and clean energies, that is being observed, right? That we can talk about. And digital connectivity, how many towers, the infrastructure also comes with right, the digital telecommunication is also one of the topics of infrastructure, right? Optical fibers, broadband, right? It has been all on rise. How about the rural infrastructure? When we talk about the rural infrastructure, especially with respect to drinking water facilities, basic food, clothing, shelter, that part is being addressed here, right? One interesting thing that you can observe here is especially the ODF, open defecation free. We had ODF and the Swachh Bharat, ODF plus, right? And there is ODF plus plus status. So what we can observe is there are areas there like 25 to 50% they were ODF. So there has been those who were grayish, they have entered green, and those who were bluish have entered grayish. So there has been a growth, significant growth in this direction, which is a very good sign. Then we have urban infrastructure. Again, Swachh Bharat mission in urban area, that is always a rise. There is always a rise which is being seen. Various initiatives that are there: Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, food, clothing, shelter, as we talked. Urban transport is also there. Atal mission for regeneration, urban transformation, right? Smart cities mission is also on the rise. All about business reforms. So there is various efforts that is being done to ease the businesses, right? One good thing that we can observe is about the intellectual properties in India, that India has been again another top performers in having a number of intellectual properties, trademarks, you know, rights in it. One of the top one of the top performers in this area, and there has been a rise in terms of copyrights, trademarks, patents, designs, because the whole R&D, the results of R&D is this, and R&D is very crucial for driving technological changes in the economy. Service, new challenges for the old war horse. As we were discussing, that service sector has been in the forefront of putting India in the global map of economic growth story, and it has been the top recipient of, you know, share that. And if you can just observe, like this is a very good important topic. Like we have the service sector, we have the manufacturing sector, and the agriculture sector. This is an important table because we've been repeatedly talking on this. There is a percentage of population and percentage of GDP share. So in the current situation, agriculture sector, how much? Around 50% of the population is involved, and it contributes to around 15 to 20% of the GDP, right? Manufacturing sector around 20%, and it gives around 25 to 30% of GDP growth to the economy. The service sector, employing around 25 to 30%, is ending up giving highest, like 55 to 60% of Indian GDP share. That is the contribution of the old horse that we are talking about, and it has been the highest. Like you can see here, 55% is the contribution of the service sector that is being talked. In the global exports also, we have around 4.3% contribution going from Indian service sector, right? When it comes to various challenges that are opportunities that are awaiting in this field, there is a lot of dynamics here. There is offshore work, traditional apprenticeship models and skilling is lacking. There has to be a higher efforts to be done. Language barriers are there for the global services, and servicification, which means that there is a changing trend in the AI and the digital world, and there has to be strengths and to be harnessed in this direction. Policy supports needs, because especially skill gap that is existing, reforms happening in the grassroots, which are to be regulated. There is a lot of regulation lacking in this area, which are going to shape the future of service sector. That has to be kept in mind, and put forth various measures to address the same. In the ninth chapter, we will talk about the agriculture and food management. This is a very crucial sector. The whole economy rests or founded on this sector. It has been performing very well in this economic survey. Also, it is observed that the agriculture sector has been a foundational support to the economical activities in India. So, decline in the share of non-institutional credit. Yet, if you observe, post the independence, 90% of the credits would come from informal sectors, like there were money lenders, and there would be a lot of exploitation of those who, in fact, they would end up becoming beggars, working whole life in the interest payments. By now, we are getting around 25%. Yeah, we think I think it's still a very high rate. We have established financial institutes, so a formal way of credit should be the way forward, and even 25% people are also stuck in depending on like informal you know way of banking. Yeah, and there has been increase in the growth of credit, then to the marginalized and small farmers. Increase in area under micro irrigation, right? Increasing the efficiency of agricultural activities with respect to climate smart agriculture, precision farming, you know, all this is being is under rise. Sprinkler systems in micro irrigation to enhance the productivity and utilization of water. Promoting sustainable farming and measures that are being taken care of. Soil health cards for assessing the quality of the soil with respect to micro and macro nutrients. Per drop more crop. National bamboo missions, especially in the northeast regions. Mission organic value chain creation. Yeah, and Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana for organic farming. All these efforts have been taken care. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Vikas Yojana and many other schemes. 10 chapter deals with the climate and environment, right? Adaptation measures. Just to give a quick backdrop, in this backdrop that we have the IPCC report stating on the climate change that 1.5 degree Celsius world and the global warming by 2050, what are its effect by the end of the century 2100. What is the issue with respect to water and climatic conditions that are going to impact the world across. There have been right NAFCCC, right, that is there, and there is a COP meetings that are being happening. 29th has happened recently in Baku, Azerbaijan. Tell me in the comment box when is COP 30 that is being there. So keeping all that in mind, the world has been divided into two, the developed countries and developing economics. Yeah, economies, and there is $100 billion determined international determined contribution that has to be given for climatic adaptations and mitigations. When it comes to climate, there are two things like adaptations and mitigations, right? Adaptations is already occurred effects to be compensated with a fund that are called fund or effect or measures is called adaptation. Mitigation means preventing in its initial stage itself. So all that has been there, right? And various challenges are still existing, vulnerability still exists. There are net zero efforts, especially by India by 2070, because the growth and the climate, these two dilemmas have to be considered together to go on a sustainable path of development. Decarbonomics, the carbon neutrality, net zero, right? Decarbonomics, all this is being talked. Can you in the comment box tell me what are the difference between these two these keywords? Mitigation, bias in inflation flow of funds. So all this is being talked. See, we just talked about mitigation adaptation, right? That is being talked anyway. So another quick thing is about the progress of renewable energy. Yeah, so within the renewable world, or currently 46% of India's energy is being supplied with the coal. The remaining is with solar. So solar has come handy as a complement to the fossil based energy source. Solar is in the International Solar Alliance is also being set up by India, leading the show in the world. Also there is other hydro and wind, 10%. Then there is gas, which is 5%, and nuclear, which is going to grow in the future. As we see, this will take up a major chunk here, right? And solar may expand a little bit more like this, so in an Indian context. And going forward, the coal is going to shrink, coal part. Yeah, all that is being talked here. Then quickly coming down, there is one thing that is being triggered is about the life mission, which is called lifestyle for environment. That This is the passive strategy. At the bottom line, it is about the lifestyle of the population which determines. It is estimated that 13% of the global population can reduce the carbon emission by 20% just by adapting some lifestyles which are climate friendly, yeah, environment friendly, like taking public transport, using water cautiously, yeah, various like this. So there are various things. If living with a conscious life, understanding everything, like carpooling is given, just can reduce 7,80,000 rides per day, save 380 million liters of fuel, it is said. You see, recycling ton of newspapers can avoid 25,000 liters of water wastage. See, like this. Although it may look a very small activity, but the multiplier effect that it can bring is huge. Thinking on a broader perspective, it can have a very big impact on the climate and environment. It is said that finishing the food on the plate can avoid 90 kgs of annual food wastage per person. Can you imagine? We talk that 30 to 40% of the world is poor and they cannot afford 3 times food, and the wastage of food can impact like this. So it is all the conscious living perspective that is to be taken care. Social sector, extending reach and driving empowerment, right, especially health, education, and addressing the vulnerable sections of society, women, children, senior citizens, and creating facilities for, like, improving basic facilities in the schools for girls, boys, toilet facilities, water facilities, basic food, yeah. Also increasing social services expenditure, yeah, like that. That is being talked. And building blocks for better education. See, the NEP is there. There is various schemes like social and emotional learning. We have basic numeracy. There is Pratham report, right? Acer report. There are many others. Foundational literacy and numeracy itself is lacking in many of the places, and there are some very good case studies like Nali Kali, a joyful learning in Kannada. There are some very good case studies. Prerana model of education, life skills training with respect to Tim Care, Pradhan Mantri e-Vidya channel for online education. All that is being talked. Yeah, and others. Powering the rural economy. This is crucial because the the fruits of the growth story should percolate down to the lowest grassroots, meaning the rural economy, especially Swachh Bharat Mission, Mission Amrit Sarovar for creating ponds, National Health Mission in the primary healthcare centers, especially secondary healthcare centers, sub centers, Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, that the MLAs and MPs of that area should take care of growth of that zone, Jal Jeevan Mission for water to every single household, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, right, and Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana for roads, health for all, affordable medicine and immunization, insurance and health card. We have Ayushman Bharat, right? Card has been given, and so many has been 30 crore Ayushman cards have been issued. So this is the health aspect. Disruptive technology provides seamless and equitable healthcare. There has been digitization occurring in this zone also. E-Sanjeevani has come up, which gives services online. Yeah, like that, lot of efforts have been done in that direction. Employment and skill development. This is something a crucial part because the academia and industry gap is huge. It is said that 40 to 60% of the candidates who are graduates in colleges like engineering are not employable. This is Ministry of Education data. So a lot of efforts have to be done in creating employability and skills in the working age population to drive growth and improve the quality of labor market. And again, one more is about women participation. Like there is a stat here also. There is a trend increasing in urban labor, employability and employment, but the same seems to be, of different degrees for with respect to different like there is a labor force survey, right, periodic PLF, as we have. It states that there has been a trend, but, like, there is a WPR called worker population ratio, there is some increase, but at the same time there is one unemployment rate which is decreasing 6% to 3.2%, which is again a good indicator only. So there has been overall improvement, but not sufficient. So increase in the female labor participation, especially in these zones, the orange and the red zones, there is a significant change that has been observed, especially UP and Bihar, yeah, even in the northeast, yeah, and many of the orange states, even Rajasthan, they have been there have been good performance with respect to female working force participation in employment. Various other efforts have been done to increase the female participation in the economic condition. There have been self-help groups creating economic activities for good. Access to credit has been made simpler. Yeah, Kaushal Vikas Yojanas, Sankalp for skill development in tailoring, cloth, clothing, all those small scale food processing, all those marketing support and supporting women owned enterprises, especially girls coming from SC ST background. Yeah, tell me a scheme meant for the SC ST women. Is it Stand Up India? I think yes. So like that. Then we have driving job opportunities, harnessing digital economy for job creation. Yeah, we are living in a digital world, social media explosion driven by AI. So there we need to leverage those opportunities and technology to for our good. And skilling for a changing world. So a lot of other, you know, skilling, upskilling, women participation, new age skills that are being talked in this economic survey. Last topic is about the labor in the AI era, because artificial intelligence has been the buzzword. There it is like a double-edged sword. Will it become a crisis or a catalyst? Just like a knife, whether it is in the hand of a doctor or in the hand of a thief. So we should focus on the good and how it can help in, you know, increasing the opportunities and creating the quality labors for the economic good. And when not carefully managed can create a painful issues, because AI should be controlled by a sensible human, not otherwise. Otherwise AI can create an existential crisis. So there are fears and hopes together running across this topic, right? And various other topics are being talked in this. Will it replace the humans? All that is being talked. Okay, so this is all about the economic survey. You can have a look and you can watch or have a read of